across my porch. Okay. This is the Signal Media Services. 3, 2, 1. All right, we will call the St. Paul City Council to order. Roll call.
Yang.
Aye.
Jalali.
Aye.
Naker.
Aye.
Prince.
Aye.
Tao.
Here.
Tolbert.
Yes, here.
Council President Brenmoen.
Here.
7 present, no one absent.
If you could please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Consent agenda items 2 through 21 are before you for your consideration.
All right, and we are taking item number 14 separately. Is there anything else that should come off our consent agenda? All right. All right, so we'll just take item 14 separately. And Ms. Yang moves the balance of the consent agenda. Roll call.
Yang.
Aye.
Jalali.
Aye.
Naker.
Aye.
Prince.
Aye.
Tao.
Aye.
Tolbert.
Yes.
Council President Brenmoen.
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The consent agenda is adopted as amended. Item 14, Resolution 20-855, supporting fair, direct federal emergency support to reopen and build local American economies.
And it's going to sound like I'm reading something following this resolution, and it's because I am. I think it's important information, and I just want to say this. Just to get it on the record, and because I think it's very important for the city and the state and for our partners to hear. On this resolution, from the beginning of the pandemic, the city of St. Paul has been committed to the safety of our community, to our city staff, and particularly our first responders. Mayor Carter has showed no hesitancy in providing COVID-related workers' compensation to our frontline staff, and we worked diligently to secure personal protective equipment, sanitation supplies, and advocated for increased access to COVID-19 testing in our community. We have convened numerous community-driven roundtables focused on lifting up and focusing on the voices of our diverse residents. We have led the nation as the first city to provide funds to families and businesses affected by COVID-19. And the city staff worked tirelessly to set up language resources and telephone line that provided assistance to residents speaking in multiple languages beyond the ones where we had folks on staff. Our language line expanded it up to, I think, 147 languages. We partnered with businesses to reduce certain licensing fees, remove towing and impound fees. But as we entered the summer, the city of St. Paul faces increased expenditure costs and looming revenue shortfalls, as we know, in the wake of the pandemic. We did not meet the CARES Act Coronavirus Relief Fund population threshold of 500,000, which meant we were not eligible for direct aid. Even then, Treasury guidelines forbids recipients of aid from using federal funding to backfill lost revenue and limit spending to the end of the year. That's why direct aid from federal government is so important to us. It allows us to use federal funds to shore up our lost, delayed, or decreased revenues while expanding the time frame out past this year. This is critical because the COVID-19 pandemic won't necessarily end this year, and we continue to feel the economic effects of COVID-19 for many months to come. Finally, the National League of Cities asked cities to join their nationwide campaign and provide a resolution from their city council, which is what we're voting on today, that asks for and supports direct aid from the federal government. Our support as a city and advocacy is critical as we reach out to our federal partners and elected members of Congress. So that is background of what we're doing here today and why. I'm sorry for the lengthy reading, but thought it was important to get into the record. Is there any, Tommy Zhang from the mayor's office is here to answer questions that we have, or if there's any conversation or discussion on this item before we vote. Ms. Naker.
Thank you. I apologize if I missed this, Council President, but I was in a conversation with, I completely support this resolution, and I'm glad we're bringing it forward, first of all. And I was in a conversation with constituents earlier this week where the question was raised about how what the total level of expenditures we've so far had to incur in order to address COVID. And I remember this was presented to us a while back, but I guess I'm curious if there's an updated number.
And I will look to Ms. Zhang. I know that's a number that the city staff has been working to produce, and I think it's also a moving target. But Ms. Zhang, do you have an answer to that question?
Council President and Councilmember Naker, I don't have an updated number, but I can get that to you as soon as possible.
Okay, and I will second that. We have been hearing that come up again and again, and I think as I recognize that every day that number changes, but it would be good to have some sense of what it is, especially as we're walking into the 2020 budget revision. So I would second that request. Are there other questions or thoughts on this resolution? All right. Seeing none, Ms. Naker moves approval. Roll call.
Yang.
Aye.
Jalali.
Aye.
Naker.
Aye.
Prince.
Aye.
Tao.
Aye.
Tolbert.
Yes.
Council President Brenmoen.
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The resolution is adopted. Council President, we have a suspension item.
All right. Mr. Tolbert moves suspension of the rules. Roll call.
Yang.
Aye.
Jalali.
Aye.
Naker.
Aye.
Prince.
Aye.
Tao.
Aye.
Tolbert.
Yes.
Council President Brenmoen.
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The rules are suspended. Resolution 20-874, affirming the extension of declaration of local emergency issued June 8th, 2020 by Mayor Melvin Carter III.
Is there discussion on this resolution? Mr. Tao?
Sorry. Nothing.
Getting ready to vote. Okay. Ms. Yang?
I'm just getting ready to vote. Thank
Okay. Sorry. I just don't want to miss anybody. All right. Seeing none, roll call.
Yang.
Aye.
Jalali.
Aye.
Naker.
Aye.
Prince.
Aye.
Tao.
Aye.
Tolbert.
Yes.
Council President Brenmoen.
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The resolution is adopted. Item 22, APC 20-4, considering the appeal of toll development of the Planning Commission decision to deny a requested variance to the 0.3 floor area ratio minimum at 1212 Prosperity Avenue. Public hearing was closed on June 3rd.
All right. So this item was laid over till this week by Councilmember Yang. Ms. Yang, did you want further staff report, or have you further discussion on this item?
you, Council President. No, there is no staff report. I have comments that I'll make though before making a motion.
Okay. Ms. Yang.
Thank you so much. Thanks to the council for supporting the 1 week layover. It gave me, provided me a lot of time to be able to go back, and connect more with our city attorney's office about this and staff as well. And I do want to name that there was so much work put into this, including, our planning commission as well, and wanted to, really do justice in providing a full report back to all of you as well. And so I wanted to just share that, I'm going to move to grant the appeal based on the following reasons. And I do have a pretty extensive report here. It's about 4 pages. So I will go over the bigger bullet points that I wanted to share to all of you, and then also provide this document to Sherry as well. So after reviewing all of the testimony in the Planning Commission's decision, I do find that the Planning Commission erred when it denied the appellant's floor area ratio variance based on the reasons in findings 4A, B, C, and D of the Planning Commission's resolution. It's numbered 20-018-602, excuse me. And I find that each of the reasons are in error as follows. So 4A, it says that the variance is in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the zoning code. I want to say that the FAR variance for this site is reasonable, and the appellant worked extensively with the city staff to come up with a building site design, which the Planning Commission found to meet the general purpose and intent of the zoning code, as well as the design requirements for T2 districts. And wanted to go further to say that the gross floor area of the proposed building is 3,855. The commission estimated that an additional 5,314 gross floor area was needed to meet the minimum FAR requirement for this parcel. Requiring the appellant to construct another building and a half to simply meet the district's FAR requirement as a means to facilitate compact development is not a reasonable basis to deny this specific application or this unusually shaped lot. And it should also be noted that the appellant agreed to construct a taller building in an attempt to visually conform with the FAR requirement when viewed from the street. Moving forward, 4B here states the variance is consistent with the comprehensive plan. And, I want to share that the bank is a permitted use at this location. A bank on the site is also consistent with the current 2030 plan, as well as the pending 2040 comprehensive plan, as well as the small area plan for this district. While FAR is a means to ensure appropriate intensity and compactness of building development to meet city goals, locating a bank at this location clearly meets the goals of the 2030 comp plan, which, is because the bank will provide services and employment close to its residences. The design and location of the bank on the subject fulfills T2 design guidelines, which makes the bank accessible by pedestrians and transit users. The location of the bank is near existing neighborhood business and employment centers, which is consistent with the pending 2040 comp plan. As a stable use of land and a desirable neighborhood amenity, a bank will encourage transit supportive density. And the last point I wanted to make for 4B here is that a bank provides good, stable employment opportunities, improves job access, and aids in the promotion of higher density, transit-oriented development envisioned along the White Bear and Maryland corridors, and is consistent with the goals of the Greater East Side District Plan. For 4C here, the applicant states that the applicant has established that there are practical difficulties in complying with the provision that the property owner proposes to use the property in a reasonable manner not permitted by the provision. Economic considerations alone do not constitute practical difficulties. And I did find that there was an error in the Planning Commission's report. The appellant worked with staff to design a building which met most of the code's requirements, and on balance, requiring the appellant to simply construct another building and a half, as I said earlier, to meet an FAR requirement as a means to facilitate compact development is practical difficulty, because the additional gross floor area needed to meet the FAR requirement for this lot as presently configured results in the creation of interior space for which the appellant has no use, and at the very least, mandating the creation of interior floor space for which there is no use seems an unwise use of resources. And the last part here with 4D states the plight of the landowner is due to circumstances unique to the property, not created by the landowner. And I want to share that while the appellant chose to purchase the subject lot for the purpose of constructing a prototypical bank building, the appellant did not create a size which drives 1/2 of the FAR calculation. The size of the lot is therefore a circumstance unique to the property that the appellant did not create. Finally, given that the subject property is large enough to split into separate parcels and that a parcel could be split from the existing parcel large enough to construct a building which can meet the minimum FAR for this district, granting a FAR variance for the appellant's building is not unreasonable because of the large size of the lot is split allows for a new building on the new lot of a size which will allow for a building that meets the FAR requirements for this district. So the commission and I move that those findings be made a part of my appeal, and that I also want to add the following to my motion as well. In approving the appellant's FAR building variance for this large parcel described in the Commission staff report as the eastern 50 feet of the parcel, approximately 6,000 square feet, which the appellant has indicated could or would be split from the present lot. It must be planted and maintained as a means to offset the impact of the appellant's reduced building size on this otherwise large lot until such time as the lot is split for redevelopment purposes. The appellant's green space must be approved by DSI, and the appellant shall submit a site plan for this green space to DSI staff to review and approve for consistency with the requirements of this condition. That was a lot packed into one piece of information there, but I wanted to definitely encourage the council to support the and that wraps up what I wanted to share.
Thank you, Ms. Yang. Is there discussion on the motion to grant the appeal with conditions? All right. Looks like there is no discussion. So Ms. Yang, as mentioned, moves to grant the appeal with the conditions that were spelled out in her comments. Roll call.
Yang,
Aye.
Jalali,
Aye.
Naker,
Aye.
Prince,
Aye.
Tao,
Aye.
Tolbert,
Yes.
Council President Brenmoen.
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The motion of intent is the appeal is granted with conditions. Item 23, second reading of ordinance 20-21, granting the application of VV Property LLC to rezone property at 1619 Dayton Avenue from T2 Traditional Neighborhood to T3 Traditional Neighborhood and amending Chapter 60 of the Legislative Code pertaining to the zoning map. This ordinance is laid over to June 17th for third reading public hearing. Item 24, resolution public hearing 20-127, amending the financing and spending plans in the fire department in the amount of $2,594.71 for the Minnesota Task Force 1 team reimbursement from the city of Edina.
All right. And this is a public hearing. The public has been able to submit testimony by phone or by email, and that would be attached to the Legistar item. And with that, Ms. Prince would, because we always take money from Edina, Ms. Prince would move to close the public hearing and approve. And any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, roll call.
Yang,
Aye.
Jalali,
Aye.
Naker,
Aye.
Prince,
Aye.
Tao,
Aye.
Tolbert,
Yes.
Council President Brenmoen.
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the resolution is adopted. Item 25, resolution public hearing 20-129, authorizing the police department to accept and amend the 2020 special fund budget for the Minnesota Department of Health 2020 Making a Difference in Minnesota grant.
And this is a public hearing. The public has been able to submit their comments through phone or by email, and that would be attached. So with that, Ms. Naker would move to close the public hearing and approve. Is there discussion on that motion? Seeing none, roll call.
Yang,
Aye.
Jalali,
Aye.
Naker,
Aye.
Prince,
Aye.
Tao,
Aye.
Tolbert,
Yes.
Council President Brenmoen.
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the resolution is adopted. Item number 26, ordinance 20-20, granting the application of Pacific Ramp LLC to rezone property at 1015 Bandana Boulevard West from B3 General Business to T3 Traditional Neighborhood and amending Chapter 60 of the Legislative Code pertaining to the zoning map.
And Ms. Jalali, were we going to have a brief staff report on this, or did you have comments?
No comments. I move to approve the item.
All right, so this is a public hearing, and the public has been able to submit comments by online or through phone transcription. And Ms. Jalali moves to close the public hearing and lay the matter over for final reading. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, roll call.
Yang, sorry.
Aye.
Jalali,
Aye.
Naker,
Aye.
Prince,
Aye.
Tao,
Aye.
Tolbert,
Yes.
Council President Brenmoen.
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the ordinance is laid over to June 17th for final adoption. For the following items, legislative hearing staff were unable to contact individual property owners. Therefore, the motion for the following items is to continue the public hearing to July 15th and renotice the pending assessments. Item 31, RLHTA 20-121, 1159 Central Avenue West. Item 38, RLHTA 20-38, 848 Johnson's Avenue. Item 39, RLHTA 20-103, 1865 Market Street. Item 42, RLHTA 20-114, 2127 Nortonia Avenue. And item 48, RLHTA 20-153, 410 Virginia Street. And again, the motion would be to continue the public hearings to July 15th and renotice the pending assessments. Council President, you're up mute.
Sorry. So moved by Mr. Tao. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, roll call.
Yang,
Aye.
Jalali,
Aye.
Naker,
Aye.
Prince,
Aye.
Tao,
Aye.
Tolbert,
Yes.
Council President Brenmoen.
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearings are continued to July 15th, and the pending assessments will be renoticed. Items 49 through 56 will be read as one item, as they all pertain to ratifying the assessment for the city's costs of providing collection of delinquent garbage bills for services during July to September of 2019. The files included are RLHAR 20-28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 42, and 43. As there were too many property owners to contact on these assessment rolls, the motion is to continue the public hearing to July 15th and renotice the pending assessments.
All right. So moved by Ms. Jalali. Is there discussion on that motion? Seeing none, roll call.
Yang,
Aye.
Jalali,
Aye.
Naker,
Aye.
Prince,
Aye.
Tao,
Aye.
Tolbert,
Yes.
Council President Brenmoen.
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearings are continued to July 15th and the pending assessments will be renoticed. For the following items, legislative hearing staff contacted these property owners and the recommendations are uncontested. Therefore, the motion is to adopt the following items. Item 27, RLH VBR 20-33, 1670 Arlington Avenue East. Item 28, RLHTA 20-33, 377 Arundel Street. Item 29, RLHTA 20-189, 704, 706 Blair Avenue. Item 30, RLHTA 20-298, 704, 706 Blair Avenue. Item 32, RLH BBR 20-35, 560 Charles Avenue. Item 33, RLH VO 20-18, 870 Cook Avenue East. Item 36, RLHTA 20-39, 2018 4th Street East. Item 37, RLH VBR 20-32, 449 Hatch Avenue. Item 40, RLHTA 20-300, 1399 Minnehaha Avenue West. Item 41, RLH VBR 20-34, 1119 Montana Avenue West. Item 43, RLH FCO 20-29, 845 Phelan Boulevard. Item 44, RLH FCO 20-43, 1279 Randolph Avenue. Item 45, RLH VBR 20-38, 1146 Rainey Avenue. Item 46, RLH VBR 20-36, 1830 7th Street East. And finally, item 47, RLH TA 20-299, 667 Surrey Avenue. And again, the motion is to close the public hearings and adopt.
All right, so moved by Ms. Naker. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, roll call.
Yang,
Aye.
Jalali,
Aye.
Naker,
Aye.
Prince,
Aye.
Tao,
Aye.
Tolbert,
Yes.
Council President Brenmoen.
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearings are closed and the resolutions are adopted. For the following 2 items, the recommendations are contested. Therefore, a staff report will be presented for RLHTA 19-903 and RLHTA 20-170, both regarding 1940 Fairmount Avenue.
Good afternoon, Ms. Mormond.
Good afternoon, Council President Brenmo and council members. What these 2 cases involve are excessive consumption of code enforcement services assessments. So when an inspector goes to check to see if work is done on deadline and it is not done, they have a practice of issuing a bill for the cost of that inspection. So in this case, we have 2 visits made by the inspector several months apart where the work was not completed, and therefore the Department of Safety and Inspections billed for those inspections. Each of those bills is $122 plus a $35 service charge to be processed as an assessment, bringing each to $157. The reason why we're talking about excessive consumption of code enforcement services at this property is that back in 2018, June of 2018, the department issued orders, 2 of them, a summary abatement order regarding the maintenance of the exterior, the keeping of the grounds, basically, tall grass and weeds, containers, black plastic bags of materials, and so on that were stored on the exterior. And then there were structural issues with reference to the back porch and the balcony above the back porch, which has a door that would exit onto it from the 2nd level. When the work, the deadlines that the council gave for the work to be completed, the council granted extensions into later in 2018. The property maintenance issues have all been addressed, and there aren't concerns right now with the maintenance of the grounds, if you will, at this property. What we're talking about at this juncture is completing the work on the repair of the steps and the balcony area. We are now, well, if the deadline was in late 2018, we're fully 20 months past deadline. And a building permit to do the work on the balcony was actually pulled in the fall of 2019, so a year after council deadline. I understand, and well, I will finish the city perspective first, excuse me. So the last piece of this would be that there were 2 inspections, one, which is your item number 34, a charge for an inspection which occurred on July 3rd of 2019. Item number 35 is a charge for an inspection which occurred several months later on October 21st of 2019. Both times the work was incomplete. At this point, I would often recommend a decrease or even possibly a deletion of the assessment if the work was concluded at the time that I'm giving this staff report. As I understand it, the department was out there on June 4th of this year, and the permits are still open and the work is not yet completed. So I would not recommend reduction in this. The homeowner does contest the assessment. She has submitted additional written materials which have been in your records since last week. There's like 3 emails in there largely communicating the same kind of information. If I can summarize, which I can't use the same words, I would say that her concerns fall into a couple of different categories, but you would have read for yourself what those are. One would have to do with the nature of orders and how people call in and complain about things and how that can be an unfair process. And then how does the city explain to property owners what the expectations are with those orders? And she continues to have concerns around that. Also, she mentioned that she does pay real estate taxes already, and so this would be a tax on top of those. She indicated in the legislative hearing that she felt rushed to do the work based on the deadlines that were put into place, which I did mention were extensions from what the department had issued. Lastly, she focuses on exterior grounds maintenance issues, but the city has closed those orders, and so I would say that hasn't been an issue, and we're really just talking now about closing out the building permit for working on the balcony there, and that is the remaining item. I can answer any questions that you have on this. It is a case that's gone on for a while now. You've got commentary, I think, in 4 or 5 council files now that you would have had a chance to review over the past couple of years.
Are there questions for Ms. Mormond? All right, and Ms. Mormond, you said that the public testimony is included in the Legistar system, correct?
That's correct. There were no voicemails added, but there was a fairly lengthy email explaining the property owner's position and concerns attached to the record. So you have a fair bit of written testimony that's been provided.
Okay, so that is in the public hearing. And so I would start by just saying, entertaining a motion from Ms. Jalali to close the public hearing. Any discussion on that motion? Roll call.
Yang.
Aye.
Jalali.
Aye.
Naker.
Aye.
Prince.
Aye.
Tao.
Aye.
Tolbert.
Yes.
Council President Brenmoen.
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. Public hearings are closed.
Ms. Jalali.
Thank you. Thank you for the staff report. I will be moving the recommendation of the legislative hearing officer.
All right, so Ms. Jalali moves the recommendation of the legislative hearing officer. Any discussion on that motion? I'm looking at mute buttons. Ms. Prince, just getting ready to vote, or did you have a comment?
Just getting ready to vote.
Okay, with that, roll call.
Yang.
Aye.
Jalali.
Aye.
Naker.
Aye.
Prince.
Aye.
Tao.
Aye.
Tolbert. Councilmember, did you?
I heard an aye.
Okay. Council President Brenmoen.
Aye.
7 in favor, no one opposed. The resolutions are adopted.
I should say I heard a yes.
Okay.
Okay.
And that's the end.
Okay, great. So we have come to the end of our agenda, and I just wanted to shift a little bit here today and take a pause. Because this last weekend, the chairwoman of the St. Paul Public Schools Board of Education, Marnie Zhang, was taken from us by the coronavirus. This council lost a trusted colleague and a friend. Our community lost a promising leader, and Ms. Zhang's family, including her brother-in-law, Councilmember Tao, lost a daughter, an aunt, and a sister. And I personally lost a dear friend, a trusted ally, and honestly, a mentor. Perhaps never in our history have leaders like Marnie, with her advocacy for equity and her vision for change, been more important. She was a critical thinker, a collaborator, and a big dreamer. Just 3 months ago, she was instrumental in bridging differences and resolving the teachers' strike. So as we conclude our work at the council table today, I thought it would be an appropriate time to take, I guess it's our virtual council table, but time to remember Marnie as a public servant and a friend and a colleague. And just wanted to offer this time if people have thoughts they'd like to share, and then perhaps we could have a moment of silence in her memory. Are there any thoughts from my colleagues? Mr. Tao.
Thank you, Council President, for your words. It's a tragic for our family, and just want to thank all the the doctors, the nurses, the care team over at Region and the U of M Medical Center, they did everything they could to try and save Marnie. There's no doubt in our mind, in our experience, that they did everything they could, and not only taking care of Marnie, but many of the patients that have contracted the coronavirus, and we want to thank them and for them to continue to have the strength and the passion to save many other patients that may be in contact with the coronavirus. You know, Marnie was someone that, outside of the public life, she was someone who cared deeply about anyone that she comes across, whether they're related to her or not. She always make the time to surprise them with gifts or spend time with them. She was just a sense of hope for my in-laws, my mom and dad. She was really important to them because in our culture, sometimes not as much as used to be, but the boys are usually valued more than the girls, the daughters. And Marnie proved that, you know, you can be any gender and you could be a leader. You can sit at the table. You can make a difference. We're gonna miss her, and you know, the kids don't know why their aunt's not here yet. They think that she's still gonna come back and do activity with them. She went to Region and they sedated her so that they could put the ventilator on her, and just never woke up from that. And want to thank all the people who voted for her, and just I want you all to know that she cared deeply about you and your family, and it's very tragic that she didn't get to go protest with us at the recent protests that we have on Black Lives Matters. She was someone who cared deeply about the struggle of the African American community, and that was her minor. And she just really wanted to make sure that the city and the school works for everybody. And our family is in grief, and we want to appreciate and want to thank everybody, all the texts, all the voicemail, all the prayers that you've given our family. We hope that you will receive those blessings 10 times the love and the prayers that you've given our family. And it's just no words could ever replace our hopes and our dreams that we've had and that Marnie have had for this community. And so, you know, I want to thank everybody for this opportunity to tell a little bit about Marnie. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tao. Ms. Yang?
Thank you, Council President, and to all my colleagues for giving us the space to remember Marnie. Thank you, Councilmember Tao, about those really precious words about Marnie. You know, like these past few days, I've been reflecting a lot about her, and you know, if it's two things that stick out to me most about Marnie, the first one is that you know, she was one of the first few women who I met when I started political organizing 5 years ago. And every time I saw her speak, I was just really inspired by her, because she showed me that among women, we didn't have to be quiet, and that just because I'm a woman, I don't have to be submissive, and I can reject all the stories about patriarchy, about how I have to just be a follower and have to live in the shadows. And she always spoke out and was really strong and courageous about it. And like, that's how I will always remember her. She is a uniter as well. One of the last few projects, well, the last project that Marnie worked on was actually organizing and pulling together Asian Pacific Islander elected officials from across the state, from me, Councilmember Tao, Councilmember Jalali, commissioners from Hennepin County, Anokas, all over the place, even our API elected officials in the Capitol. She organized all of us, and we came together and wrote a statement condemning the racism and the anti-Asian rhetoric that was being directed toward our API community during the pandemic here. And Marnie just wouldn't stand for it at all. She's like, we need to speak out, and speak against this and make sure that we're, we are showing people that, we do have a voice, and that we're going to not just, be quiet and get, kicked into the dirt, and that, we need to show people that as API elected officials that we're here to fight for our people too, and that fighting for our people is fighting for all people's liberation. And that was, it just really shocks me, and to just think that Marnie's not here anymore, because I still remember the last text that our group we got from her telling us that she wasn't feeling well, and that was just a little over a month ago. And so I just like what Councilmember Tao wrote, in his press release, what I want to continue doing is celebrating the life that Marnie lived. If she were here, I know that the one thing she would say is that, how she passed away was really unjust, and that everything about the pandemic here was preventable, and that she would be so upset, knowing that our government, especially at the federal level, failed people, and that so many people, they died because of this virus, and that we need to do better. And so for her, I will continue fighting for that world that she was building for, a world where people are united across race and class and gender and age as well, and we'll continue doing that in tribute of her. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Ms. Yang. Thank you so much. Ms. Jalali?
Thank you. I'll be brief. I think that people have just shown their hearts, and you can feel the pain and the grief on this call. I am lifting up our entire community. I feel the hurt and the grief. I think that for many of us, this still doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel like it could possibly be real. And there's just been an outpouring of disbelief because we really feel like this bright light in our city has been taken from us too soon. And everything that's been said, I couldn't agree more. This is going to hurt for so many of us for a long time. I want to send some love specifically to our school board colleagues who are coming out of the hardest year they've maybe ever had, and are losing their leader and their friend and their North Star. And it's absolutely devastating. So we stand with you, to Council Members Tao and Yang, and to the many, many family members. It's just, I wish I had better words. I'm so sad, and seeing the pain in people's eyes as you all share. I feel it too. So thank you for your tributes, and let's make sure that we honor the legacy of Marnie in everything we do. Thank you.
If there are not other thoughts right now, I would just, if you could indulge me, I would just like to share that Marnie, I met Marnie through Councilmember Tao, but she was a Ward 5 resident when I met her, and she wanted to organize particularly the Hmong community, and get the North End and the East Side out to vote more. And we worked together organizing an apartment in the 5th Ward that's largely occupied by elders from the Hmong community. And she had a knack for getting the elders, the women in the elders group, excited about getting together and talking to their council member. Maybe it was because she brought giant bags of candy for them. I don't know. But she always showed up with treats and things that she knew would lure them out to the commons room, and then we could have discussions about things that were bothering them. And through Marnie, we were able to get a meeting with the police chief. Then he was the Western commander, but came to the Hmong Elder Center and talked to the elders about their concerns about policing in our city. And that was a really cool conversation where at first nobody wanted to ask questions, and then eventually people started feeling safe and asked questions. And the commander, Axtell, did a good job of answering questions, and it was a good community community building experience. They also told me that the streetlight crossing button that they couldn't get across the street fast enough before the light changed. And that was concerning to me. And because of their advocacy, it turned out that the button on the streetlight was broken. And so because we met with them and worked with them, they were able to show success in organizing, and we got that button fixed. So it was really cool. But we also we brought a group of the elders, Marnie and I, to the We Are Hmong exhibit at the History Center, because we said we shouldn't always be working. We should also have fun too. And so she got folks excited about going up to the History Center, and we walked through, and the elders, they love the exhibit. They also criticized some parts of the exhibit. They said, this is Chinese, not Hmong. And so it was cool to walk through it with Marnie, but she really worked hard to have folks feel engaged. And then they also participated in electoral politics. And I think the coolest thing I ever saw was a long line of our friends in this apartment building walking to vote for the first woman president. And it was cool. And I know that they were so inspired seeing our leader, Marnie, as she took a seat in the school board and quickly ascended to school board chair. So I just wanted to share that with you. She holds a really special, dear place in my heart. And as I heard from some of you here today, I will honor her memory by continuing to do that work. It's so important, and it's probably some of the most meaningful stuff that I've done in my time in office. I thought I saw Mr. Tolbert. Mr. Tolbert.
Yeah, thank you. And I really appreciate the words of my colleagues. It's heartbreaking and inspiring to listen to at the same time, if that makes any sense. First, I just want to send my love and condolences to the Zhang family and all of Marnie's closest friends and family who have grief during this time. I know there's lots of good memories, but the grief that you have after a death of someone in your family is especially to her parents. No parent should lose their child in this world. But everybody who she closely was in touch with, it is a loss for the family, but it's also a loss for, I think, our entire St. Paul community and beyond. I got to know Marnie a little bit when she was running for school board and since then, and I had heard a lot about her and her leadership ability and her leadership style from many of you on this council. And so I was watching her and now it's probably 2 months ago when under her leadership, we were able to end a school strike. I just recall, and it stuck out, and I see a lot of press conferences and read a lot of things, but this was so vivid to me, and it stuck with me after that I remember, and I actually went back and watched it again. But the superintendent was asked a question about the leadership and how they got through it, and I remember him just choking up, and you could tell how sincere it was. It wasn't pre-planned remarks, but he said, "I'm proud of our chair. I saw a leader born through this process. Not that Chair Zhang wasn't a leader before, but it was amazing to watch her guide her colleagues and provide us with support we needed to come to an agreement." And it stuck in my head because I remember thinking, we have someone now ready to take on the helm of whether it be mayor, governor, senator, something beyond, not that school board is not important, but something even beyond that. I was excited, and as a St. Paul citizen, it just makes me even more devastated to have this loss of this leader who is just coming into her own and hitting her stride. And it's devastating, but at the same time, and I told Di this yesterday, being on the school board, you can know that under her leadership, a lot of kids are better off today because she's been on the school board, and the programs that she's supported and the programs that she's helped start and all that she's done. And we will see that legacy every day when all these kids start taking off on their own. And that's important work. So my sincere condolences to the entire family and the grief. And I also appreciate hearing all the individual stories about an amazing woman. So thank you.
Ms. Naker and then Ms. Prince.
Thank you. It's so powerful sitting here listening to what everyone has had to say so far, and the words that are running through my mind are the ones that we say in my Jewish tradition when someone passes away, which is that may her memory be for a blessing. And I really, listening to as everyone has been speaking and what I know of Marnie, I can't think of someone whose memory would be more for a blessing than hers. So I am so sorry for your losses, Councilmember Tao, Councilmember Yang, and frankly for all of our loss.
Thank you. Ms. Prince?
Yeah, I have a few particular memories with Marnie, but one was she was part of a group of community leaders, and you'll remember this too, Nelsie, where we met in the basement of the Mounds Park United Methodist Church to talk about police community relations, and Marnie's words at that meeting had a huge impact on me, and it was a tough meeting at the beginning of my time on the council, and I was deeply moved by it and left the meeting in tears that I had the opportunity to hear from people so authentically, and I always picture Marnie at that meeting. And I want to also send my love and condolences to the Zhangs, and because I can't imagine it. Such a beautiful young woman and a true leader, but somebody who, in her all too brief life, as we've all expressed here, made such a huge impact on our community and our school district that will live on. So thanks to everybody for their beautiful words, and especially love to Council Members Yang and Council Member Tao and their families.
Thank you, everyone. This was remarkable and exactly what my heart needed. So I know there's a lot of grieving and work in front of us, but just for now, I think it's clear how much we will miss Marnie. And if it would be all right, I would like to offer a moment of silence to honor Marnie Zhang. Thank you. Our prayers and love and thoughts will go out to her family and the many friends who are missing her.
Thank you. Thank you for your kind words. Thank you for your love and prayers. Thank you.
That brings us to the end of our meeting. And if there's nothing else, we'll be adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
For infectious disease at the Minnesota Department of Health. I know that COVID-19 is on everyone's minds. Slowing the spread of